Hey guys, I'm Amit Kumar and welcome to this video in which we are going to discuss about core concepts of Apex. Now, programming elements in Apex are variable declaration, SOQL statement, control structure, collections, DML statements. Now, these are different types of programming elements that we can use in Apex language, and in the same video we are going to discuss about them one by one. But let's first see the statements that are allowed to write in Apex. So any coded instruction that performs an action is a statement. We know that any instruction which performs any sort of action is nothing but a statement. And in Apex, a statement can be any of the following. It can be an assignment statement, a conditional statement, looping statement, data manipulation language, that is DML statement, a locking statement, a transaction control statement, method invoking, or exception handling. So these are all the valid statements that we can use in Apex language. Now let's talk about the various elements of Apex language. The first one is variable declaration. Now variables are those entities whose value changes during the execution of a program. They are basically names provided to the memory location. Variable declaration is a must before using any variable. So if we want to use any sort of variable in our program, it's must to declare it before using it. A variable declaration consists of a variable name and data type. So the syntax would look something like this, where we will specify the data type first, then the variable name, and then it's up to us. It's optional that we can initialize the value at the same time, but if we want, we have to provide assignment statement or equal to symbol and then the value that we want to provide in that variable. But of course, this, which is part of the square bracket, is optional, and we can simply put the semicolon after the variable name itself. Now this is an example where we created a time in years variable which is of integer data type, and the value we assigned to it is 25. The point to note over here is the semicolon is a must to terminate a statement. So whatsoever statement that you are writing, if you want to terminate the statement at the very moment, you have to use the semicolon. This semicolon is just like the period symbol in English language. SOQL or SOQL statement. SOQL or Structured Object Query Language is used to fetch records from Salesforce objects. If you have gone through the administrator part, you must be aware about the Salesforce objects, and each Salesforce object holds different records into it. We can fetch these records with the help of SOQL. It is bit like structured query language or SQL, and if you are coming from a database background or if you have studied about database, you must be aware about SQL. Now an example of SOQL is written over here, where we are fetching all records of account object with ID and name. So the statement looks like select space ID comma name space from space account. So we mentioned the name of the fields that we want, and then after the from statement we mentioned the name of the object. Control structure. Now these statements decide the flow of control of the program, and when we were discussing about flowcharts, we have already seen different control structures. Apex supports all the three of them. We are mentioning two types of control statements here, as the sequential control is the default one. Other than the sequential control, it supports two types of control statement, which are conditional and loop. In conditional statement we use if else, nested if else if ladder, and in loop we use while, do while, or for. Collections. Now collections are user defined data types in Apex, and later down the line we are going to discuss collections in a much more detailed fashion. But collections are user defined data types in Apex to hold a collection of fundamental or other complex data types. So Apex supports three collections, which are list, set, and map. Now to understand this, let's suppose we have already seen an integer data type a few slides before. So integer is one of the fundamental data type in Apex. Now we can create our own collection as list of integers or set of integers or map of integers with some key, of course. So we can create these collections which can hold collection of integers at one place. Collections are nothing but user defined data types in Apex to hold connection of fundamental data types. DML statements or data manipulation language statements. Now these statements are used to perform data manipulation operation in Salesforce, and in Apex we have these DML statements which are insert, update, upsert and delete. So these statements are used to manipulate the records or the data in an object. So to understand this, let's see a simple program in Apex. We have taken this image from the Apex developer guide itself. Now you can clearly see in this program we have used a variable declaration like integer num is equals to 10 and here accounts ACCS. So these are nothing but variable declaration. You can see we have used SOQL query like select ID from account where name like this. We have used a control structure over here, the loop control structure. As you can see, for is being used here. We have used collection again. So we have used one collection over here which is account, collection of accounts, and one collection over here which is collection of contact, and we have also used the DML operation insert statement over here. So generally the Apex language consists of these 5 types of elements inside it. So that marks the end of this video. See you soon in the next video. Till then, thank you and take care.